So, Joe, what do you think the priorities for Joju are going to be in 2025?
2025 is looking like an exciting year for us. I think we've got community solar is always at the core of what we like to think about and what we're doing. And we've got quite a few new projects with the likes of the NHS and a number of community energy organisations, which should be happening in 2025. And along with those, we've got a lot of social value projects which are running alongside those. The year is going to be about, for us, trying to consolidate our position, trying to make sure Joju runs as a sustainable business.
And I mean, you mentioned community energy. Do you think that's going to continue to be a driving force for clean energy in the coming years?
Yes, I do. I think community energy as a concept is quite new in the UK, relatively new, but is becoming more and more accepted. The returns for solar PV are as good as they've ever been due to the high cost of electricity and the low cost of solar. The cost of solar panels has now been as cheap as it's ever been, and the cost of electricity as high as it's ever been. So that makes for a really good investment.
And Joju was there right at the start, weren't you? Sort of 18 years ago when you started developing the first community solar projects. How does it feel now to see community solar becoming more and more popular?
Yeah, it's fantastic, because what community energy projects bring is they bring participation from multiple stakeholders. So you've got both the client building or the location where you put the solar panels, you've got the community energy organisations, then you've got members of the public or anybody who's local or related to those schemes who can get involved and invest. So I think it just allows for a much more democratic kind of participation in the energy market.
And you mentioned social value as well. And that's one of the things about these projects, isn't it? They have real tangible impacts in communities.
Yes, they do. So with one of our recent projects with North Lincolnshire Council, various members of the Joju team, from some of our installers to some of our designers, have been up to schools in North Lincolnshire to do workshops, to talk to families, to talk to the kids, to talk to teachers. We reckon we've engaged with more than 1,000 pupils up there, and that makes a tangible change.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see that. From an EV charging point of view, Joe, we've seen the recent results of ZapMap's annual EV charging survey. They've shown that 51% of respondents use public EV charging at least monthly. How important is it, do you think, to get more and more reliable EV charging infrastructure in the ground?
I think we're getting to a maturer market now, whereas I think at the beginning, charge point operators were putting charge points in wherever they could get permission, and not always in useful places for drivers. I think now there's much more consideration for good locations and actually for the user experience. So I think it's partly important that we get more charge points in, and I think it's also important that they're the right charge points in the right locations and they're usable. So when somebody turns up, they don't want to be looking at small font print on the side of a charge point, and they want to be able to use it immediately. They're often going to be standing outside in the rain, in the dark, and it's got to be very simple, usable technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that something that Joju's focused on in 2025?
Absolutely. I think it's at the core of how we're looking at charge point infrastructure. It's the word I used before, but the democratisation of energy is that we're now bringing charge points to people who don't necessarily have driveways. So you've got to have all sorts of infrastructure for the right people in the right places. Otherwise, the market won't move forward, and it will just be an inequitable market.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think things are moving quickly enough, Joe?
I do think they're moving quickly enough, but I think it's all about being very thoughtful about the strategy of where charge points are going. So it feels to me that it's more important now to get the right charges in the right locations rather than volume. So my experience of driving around the UK, driving up to Scotland and the Highlands, to North Wales, to Cornwall, is that it works. I feel confident in going. I've got small kids and I don't worry about being able to find a charge point. But when I get to the charge points, there's often some obsolete technology that could charge faster. There's sometimes on ZapMap, the data there doesn't necessarily reflect what you're going to find at the other end. So I think there are improvements in the technology, and then getting the right technology in the right places is still a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And one that you're looking to address with your partners in 2025.
Absolutely, yes. So we're working with partners in both the public sector, our customers, as well as the charge point operators, as well as the ground workers and the DNOs, to make sure we provide the right solutions in the right places.
Brilliant stuff. And when you're thinking about the residential market in 2025, the residential solar market, are most people looking towards battery storage coupled with solar now? And why do you think that is?
I think battery storage has become important because people want to feel that they're using the energy that they generate. There are some concerns about the grid and grid infrastructure, but I don't think those are what are in most of our customers' minds when they're choosing storage. I think what we know in a residential setting is a lot of the energy generated by our customers won't be used directly because it's generated during the day when the homeowners are often out. So they want to benefit and use that power themselves. And the way to do that is to put in storage. I think the battery systems have got better and simpler, and I think that's made the choice easier for the customers.
And do you see that continuing to be a thriving market with people, looking to add solar to their home in 2025?
Yes, I do. I think this is going to be a positive year for solar. Again, I partly put it down to the fact that the panel prices are lower and the cost of energy is higher. But people understand better now how reliable solar is and how predictable the generation that your panels on a roof will give you.
Brilliant stuff. And finally, Joe, is Joju's overall mission the same in 2025 as it's always been?
Yes, I mean, we've got a pretty straightforward and core mission, which is to lower carbon dioxide emissions and improve air quality. And both our core technologies do that with our EV infrastructure and with the solar installations.
Well, what does it mean to you, Joe, and to the rest of the team to be able to work towards achieving that mission year on year on year?
Well, I think it just means that we've all got a kind of a reason to get up in the morning. We know what our purpose is as individuals. I think it's important in anybody's life and anybody's work to be doing something that they really want to do. And I think it's a great purpose to be working in the fight to address climate change.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you sit back and review, how much you've saved year on year and look at those stats and feel proud of that, of contributing to that fight?
It's a tricky question. I think I always look back and the numbers look small and our contribution not as great as I'd liked it to have been. And I'm always thinking about the next year and wanting it to be larger and to do more. And every time I think about the number of charge points we've installed and the number of councils we work for, I'm thinking more about the councils that still aren't using our services and the amount of rooftops that still don't have solar on them. And it feels like there's, on the one sense, we're doing good work, and in another sense, there's a lot more to be done.
Even more to go for in 2025 then, Joe.
Absolutely. We're just at the beginning.